I'm just going to speak very shortly about emotional intelligence in Chinese medicine. And it definitely helps to just stay in your body with this. Yesterday, we were talking a bit about how assertion is kind of like the energy of wood, because it's spring equinox, and how wood can reach through and push apart things like concrete. And that the innate energy of wood or of the liver or of spring is assertion. But when we get caught up in how things can be stuck, we become aggressive or angry or frustrated or even furious and, possibly even rage. So anytime we're feeling those kind of feelings, just like we follow the leaf down, we downregulate and let the periscope turn to where it's meant to be. You can go from anger and aggression back down to assertion, because assertion includes flow, whereas anger is always against. The proverbial bull in the china shop is about anger, and why would a bull be going after china instead of a cow or a field of grass? So when we get stuck being against something, the world becomes the something instead of everything it can be. When we think of anxiety and fear in the same way of exploring emotional intelligence, we're invited to notice the instinct below fear as a kind of readiness, a kind of bring it on, and not in the sense of high risk and danger and anticipation. That's just kind of a playful anxiety, which is fun, but can get us into some trouble. But just below that quality of anxiety or anticipation, again, is a quality of readiness. Now, we're sitting down right now. Imagine if you were at a dance and the music was going to start, and as soon as the music starts, what's the first thing people do? We bend our knees. It's hard to dance with straight legs. If you're playing a sport and the referee blew the whistle, it's the first thing you do. You bend your knees. It's kind of hard to play most sports with, stiff legs. So anytime we're feeling that uptight, anxious, bit of fear come into our experience, acknowledge what it is, and with a sort of Zen move through it. Come into your beingness, bend your legs, sink into readiness. There's a great quote that worry is a misuse of imagination. And in Chinese medicine, that's been understood for about, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 years. We use our minds sometimes almost like a cartoon to play out things. Sometimes we play out the past, we play out a conversation, we plan how to build a house, we do all the things we do. But we can also play out scary movies. We can also relentlessly play the same thing that reminds us as to why we should worry about the consequence. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Instead of going, well, if something happens, how would I move through that using my imagination to play like a child plays with imagination? It's one thing I grieve about our cultures. We don't celebrate the imagination, at least not enough. When you think about grief and loss and sadness, there's an instinct underneath of that, which is to accept change. But in English, acceptance is a bit passive. So we have this idea, which doesn't translate, unfortunately, into English in Chinese medicine, of an adaptive pause, a period of time where we don't add new things, where we learn how to be with what we've lost. And there's a story I won't have time to tell today about a person who loses their arm, and they lived a long, long, long time ago. And they had to relearn how to do everything from make their moccasins to tie their moccasins, to hunt with one arm, to start a fire with sticks with one arm, which, believe me, is really not easy to do. And that's loss. It's coming back to the world with respect to what we've lost. I'm not suggesting that we all imagine losing an arm, but in your imagination, what would that person be going through to learn how to start a fire with sticks with one arm? How long would it take? And you see in your cartoon how many times they threw those sticks at a tree or over a cliff or jumped up and down on them. And I mean, it's a cartoon after all. Have some fun. But at some point, each of us is going to have to sit and come back into our lives with respect and love for what we've lost, because that's what grieving is. There's a First Nation saying that all strong feelings are love in disguise. We only grieve because we love. And we can live our lives with respect to losing a small aspect of that love in a way. The love still resides. We come to the emotion of love, which in Chinese medicine is considered an instinct. The emotion we attribute to the heart is a quality of satisfaction and joy. Quality of appreciation. Very much like the crush that we play with sometimes when we're kelp in the ocean. Just appreciate the nuances. So to play with this, emotional intelligence in Chinese medicine is to find a way to feel ready enough to connect with your assertion so that you can use your imagination to find acceptance until you can appreciate and find deep satisfaction and joy with everything in your life.